cher à faire.
Ils l'ont trouvé sur Internet en 4 heures, ils sont quand même bons.
Non, mais c'est vieux.
Ouais.
Comment il y en a?
Ça veut dire qu'il y en a plus. Ça veut dire qu'il y en a plus beaucoup.
Ça va être
sûrement. C'est ça. C'est ça qu'il y avait. Ouais, j'aime ça.
C'est ça, mes films pour voir. Il y a aussi une corde dans la tête, tu penses?
Ils sont rendus dans les langues.
Bonjour. Bonjour Gabriel.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, c'est Jean-Luc.
Bonjour, Fanny. Gabriel. Bonjour. Enchantée. Fanny. Bonjour. 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 Nadine.
Bonjour Nadine.
Fanny. Manon. Bonjour.
Donc, désirez-vous que j'effectue la lecture des consignes en anglais ou en français?
Peu importe.
Peu importe. Alors, je vais faire en français. Donc, chaque équipe dispose de 24 minutes afin de présenter son cas au juge. Les 12 premières minutes de la présentation sont considérées comme étant protégées. Les juges ne peuvent donc pas intervenir lors de cette période. Les 10 minutes suivantes sont considérées comme étant non protégées. Le début de cette période sera annoncé par le début de cette cloche. Lorsque la période non protégée sera terminée, je sonnerai la cloche. Les juges ont la possibilité d'interrompre la présentation afin de poser des questions de clarification sur le sujet présenté à ce moment. Le juge devra se limiter à 15 secondes pour poser sa question. Durant cette période, les juges devront se limiter à une question par diapositive. L'équipe doit répondre à la question, mais peut ensuite continuer sa présentation sans attendre l'accord du juge. Les juges ne pourront pas poser de questions sur un sujet ayant déjà été couvert ou qui n'a pas encore été présenté. Ces questions devront être abordées durant la période des questions à la fin de la présentation. Les 2 dernières minutes de la présentation servent à conclure la présentation et sont à l'abri des questions des juges durant les 2 dernières minutes. Je montrerai les cartons affichant le temps, ainsi que juste ici. Donc, vous allez avoir en masse de visuel pour ça. Puis, lors des 12 dernières minutes, 7, 2 et 30 secondes, je ferai les décomptes pour les 10 dernières secondes avec les mains. Puis, une période de questions d'une durée maximale de 5 minutes est allouée au jury à la fin de la présentation. Je tiens à rappeler au jury qu'il est obligatoire de poser au moins une question lors de cette période. J'inviterai maintenant les juges à se présenter.
Oui, bonjour, Jean-Luc Deschamps. Je suis vice-président finance chez Solotech.
Bonjour, Marie-Ève Ferron. Je suis analyste principale pour la division casting et performance au Cirque du Soleil.
Bonjour, Amélie Lavoie, Company Manager pour Cortéo, un spectacle de tournée qui va prendre la route en mars.
Fanny Pagé, chef de la gestion des artistes au Cirque du Soleil.
Nadine Mercure, directrice des communications internes.
Donc,
C'est quoi votre lettre d'équipe, pardon?
Ah,
Merci.
est-ce qu'il y a une recul?
pour votre PowerPoint, ouais, c'est juste avec la souris.
People crave change. People crave new experiences. The desire to experience something so new and different that people are willing to travel across the world just to find that change. And that's exactly what I did 6 months ago. I went on exchange to Norway, where I lived for 6 months with locals, and I learned what they do in Norway. The types of things they do, what they like to do, what they don't like to do, the types of shows they see. Everything there was so different, and that's what I loved about it. And we believe that's something that people crave, and that's what Cirque has really captured. The ability to capture that change and do something so amazing with it, to put on performances, to amaze people, and create these performances that incite change and that people can pay money to go see. And this is something that we think Cirque can do even better, and we're very excited to share ideas with you today. My name is Gabrielle Martin. I'm here with my colleagues Manon Lebrun and Nathan Gravel. We will be presenting in English, but feel free to ask questions in English or in French. So today we will go through ambition, how Cirque is positioned today, where to play in the short and long-term future, how to win and capitalize on these winnings, and lastly, execution and implementation of our strategy. I will now pass it on to Nathan.
So Cirque du Soleil is among the strongest player in live entertainment in the world. It's actually planning to becoming the world's biggest player in live entertainment in the next few years. It has done so by continuously adapting to new trends and going forward with innovative technologies in live entertainment. So it's been very innovative in the past few years with a change in ownership in 2015, where two Chinese players and American bought 80% of Cirque du Soleil's ownership, and they had nothing less in mind than doubling Cirque du Soleil revenues by 2020, which is a very bold objective. And this entails that Cirque du Soleil has to grow internationally, otherwise it won't be able to reach its objective. So in order to take advantage of the current opportunities that it has, so one of them is virtual reality. So Cirque du Soleil went forward their first virtual reality partnership with partnering with the NFL, and through different technology platforms, increased ticket revenue by 20% by implementing a proper price determination platform. And then there's also plenty of opportunities in China, with the newest office being created in Shanghai, and expertise from one of the shareholders that was part of the transaction back in 2015. And then, in terms of futures opportunities, there's still more to grow in virtual reality and expansion of shows worldwide, because there's still plenty of countries that are not covered by Cirque du Soleil just yet. So I'll now pass it on to Gabrielle, which will tell you the challenges. So we've identified 3 key challenges for Cirque du Soleil. So them being communication, culture, and creativity. So our strategy will aim to cover these 3. So first of all, communication. So for tour employees, there's only about 12% of them that communicate on a daily basis with the international headquarters, which we believe is not enough. Furthermore, there's plenty of time differences, and the schedules are very difficult for employees, which makes communication really hard between the headquarters and the tour employees. Secondly, the second challenge is culture. There's a large culture of creativity throughout Cirque du Soleil, and it's really hard to manage it from one headquarters, but on a global perspective. And the third challenge is a bit related to the culture one, and that creativity is key to Cirque du Soleil's strategy.
Thank you, Nathan. So as Nathan outlined, there are 3 challenges that we were trying to focus on. And by doing so, we think that Cirque can really take their entertainment to new heights. So by implementing our 2-part strategy, Cirque du Soleil will combat its challenges and reach its goal of doubling its revenue by 2020, which represents about a 15% CAGR increase. And these 2 strategies are to create decentralized offices in key geographical areas to improve communication and culture globally. And secondly is to create an international creative day for all employees to participate in to improve creativity and improve culture in all areas that Cirque du Soleil currently operates in. So where to play? As I mentioned, people crave change and they crave the different cultures, this need for new and exciting adventures. And this is exactly what Cirque can do, and we're going to tell you exactly where to play in this field. So the global playing field, there is a problem to improve communication and culture on a global playing field for everyone to enjoy and benefit from. So the issues here, there's an overwhelmed centralized system that everyone needs to go through the headquarters in Montreal. And this is very complicated for everyone to coordinate schedules, when people are on, off, who they can speak to, and where to get proper information or to speak to the right people. There's also a need to improve local adaptation for various regions. This new show that's happening in Shanghai is a great example of that. There's very little knowledge of what people in Shanghai crave for, and in Montreal it's very hard to do so. So by creating an office in Shanghai, that's an example of a way that we can understand the culture, needs, and differences that exist in this market. And lastly is the unleveraged opportunity to capitalize on market differences. So there was in Las Vegas, there was a huge success where by creating an office, they were able to increase ticket prices by 20%. And we believe that we can capitalize on this same strategy worldwide. So the solution here is to create a regional office in each location to mitigate communication delays and leverage local culture differences. And we're going to tell you exactly how we can do this. So, we looked at 4 main areas where Cirque du Soleil plays, South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. And these are 4 potential areas of interest where a local regional office can be created and established. We looked at 4 main decision criteria that we think are very important and non-negotiables that Cirque du Soleil looks at. So centralized location. This needs to be an area that's very important, and that's in the middle of where Cirque du Soleil operates. a hub, essentially. It needs to foster family and culture. We understand that Cirque du Soleil places a very high importance on the family and the culture that it creates, and we want everyone to feel this no matter where in the world they are. Thirdly is local adaptation. As I mentioned, the show in Shanghai, they are very different to the ones presented in the Western culture. So we need to understand what are the needs in these markets and capitalize on them. And lastly is investment return. As I mentioned, the shows in Las Vegas created very positive returns, and we want to recreate these in different parts of the world. So looking at this matrix, it's very evident that Europe is the optimal place to have a local regional office because it meets all 4 non-negotiables. And so we suggest having one in France, but I'll let Manuel talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, so like Gabby mentioned, we're looking at the opportunity of opening a regional office located in France. So this would be a permanent location that would allow Cirque du Soleil to locally adapt new shows or existing shows to the European culture. We're looking at starting small, 5 to 10 employees, and which we'll later discuss in implementation. And we chose France just because we want to use internationally the international headquarters employees to start off this regional office to have this Cirque du Soleil culture and historical experience. And France is a great has a great similar culture to Montreal as of right now, and there wouldn't be any new language to learn as Quebec and the French language are very similar. So to kind of reiterate the problems that Gabby mentioned that we want this regional office to focus on would be to look at the overwhelming centralized communication that is happening in the Montreal headquarters, the need for improvement of local adaptation, which would increase the demand for shows, and looking at the unleveraged opportunity to capitalize on these market differences to improve the profitability. So these regional offices would allow to be a major communication hub with Montreal, so the different shows within Europe would be able to communicate with this regional office in France, and this regional office would then take care of the operations that are happening instead of having to go through Montreal. So this would mean less time difference and just a smaller scale of time of having to figure the problems out. As well as the local expertise based on the employees working in these regional offices would allow the Cirque du Soleil to adapt and create new shows that are targeted towards the local region, and would also be able to adapt the market and the cultural integrations. And finally, they would facilitate the adjustments in the marketing and the pricing strategies. So looking at the different positions, again, our goal is to become a liaison between the employees that are on tour around Europe and the international headquarters, and even again, the Las Vegas, taking into consideration the Las Vegas office. So the first position would be the tour representative. So what this position entails is it would be involved with the communication and be able to facilitate the operations that are going on within the show. This would be the first employee that starts this regional office. So it would take on the leadership position, and it would have, like I previously mentioned, expertise already working with Cirque du Soleil in operations. Next would be the local culture expert or experts that then the tour representative would hire. So this would be someone who has done business, who is a cultural expert in Europe, and that would be able to evaluate the different ideas for new shows that would be able to be adapted within the region. And they would be able to provide, integrate market research and insights into what customers in the European region want out of Cirque du Soleil shows. And then next, we have our Creative Day representative. So Creative Day is an idea that we will later talk about. And this representative will be able to tour around the regions to different shows, which Nathan will later talk about, and also visit potential new touring locations to start new shows around Europe. So how would this regional office improve communication and culture? So looking at communication, I previously mentioned there will be no big time difference more than 3 hours. So a lot of the problems with communication from around the world to Montreal is that it could be a certain time in Sydney and another time in the middle of the night in Montreal, which can complicate things. There'll be less tour schedules to manage, as the regional office would only focus on the tours that are happening in the region. And the international headquarters would communicate less with the people. So right now it's communicating with a lot of people around the world, and this would decentralize that with the regional office, and thus again improve the internal communication. So looking at the culture, we'd be adapting to more of the local market, so what people would desire into learning. And then as well as we would be integrating the Cirque du Soleil overall culture, which is very important, and this would be done by bringing in the expertise from the headquarters into this regional office. And we would transmission the local culture, not only the Cirque du Soleil based brand, but also the local culture.
So now in terms of what such an initiative would cost, so we've looked at some office spaces that Cirque du Soleil could rent in France urban areas, and we believe you would be able to pay around 1,000 euros per employees per month. So this total an incremental rent expense of around $180,000 annually. Then in terms of salaries, we believe there's going to be around 5 to 10 additional employees. For the purpose of the calculation, we use 10 employees, and we believe the additional total cost would be around $750,000. So that would total the cost of around $1 million, which we believe is very reasonable considering the advantages we gain from such an office. So we have minimal initial investment required for now. We may look toward buying an office in a few years if we see that this rented office is really beneficial for the company. But for now, we're staying at a rent because we're not totally sure of what the benefits will be. And then we're aiming for long-term reward and high return to our decentralized structure. So now that we've told you where to play, we want to see how we will win. So a decentralized structure comes with a few challenges, including how can we spread a creativity culture throughout the decentralized organization. That's quite difficult. So we've asked ourselves this question, and what we believe is the solution is to create what we call a creative day, which is an annual event where all employees will go to the regional office and go through a brainstorming session that will last 2 hours, and where they will try to come up with new shows ideas. So, and the reward for it should be structured for groups of 10. So say everyone in the US goes to the Las Vegas office. So everyone's going to be in groups of 10, and they're going to be given 2 hours to come up with the best show idea they can possibly get. And then through papers, they will release their idea to the management of that office. And then the best ideas from each regional office will be posted on the company's intranet Boxo, and will have the opportunity to present their ideas to the company's international headquarters. One thing with this initiative is that it comes with a challenge. Oh, yes.
When you say employees, do you mean also artists, technicians, everyone? Or?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're moving everyone for one day from wherever they are to either Shanghai, France, or Montreal.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
But one challenge, I was just about to cover something on that, is that there might be some tour during the whole year, so we won't make the employees that are on tour move to the regional office just for this single day. So what we're going to do instead is that for each individual tours, they're going to do their own creative day whenever they're all available, whenever they're not on show. And one representative from the tour team, so out of the 125 employees, is going to come to that event to present their findings. So that won't disturb the tours that are actually in place. So what we believe we're going to be able to reach through such an initiative is threefold. So culture, employees, and financial. So first, we believe we're going to be able to better spread the creativity culture that Cirque du Soleil is striving for globally, even though we're operating through a decentralized structure. Secondly, employees, we're going to involve employees in the process of designing and creating new shows, which is going to empower them to really feel part of the family of their Cirque du Soleil. And then financials, we're going to generate new ideas for new shows in the future that will potentially grow revenue substantially, helping Cirque du Soleil to reach their objective to double revenues by 2020. So in terms of financials, we've come up with some preliminary numbers for this initiative. So we estimate that the cost for transportation to the regional office is going to be around $200 per employee. This is quite conservative, especially given that the Las Vegas office is going to be really close. So we just want to make sure it's very conservative and that we don't underestimate the cost that we might incur. And then we intend on serving a meal during this event, which we believe will cost around $10 per employees. And then we've made a caution of around $20,000 for any unplanned expenses. So the total cost we believe we will incur is around $450,000
Per location.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, not per location. In total.
In total.
So it's considering all employees.
All
Okay.
employees.
Because you down it said like 1.4 million.
Oh, sorry. This is for all initiatives. So this is considering the $450,000 of there, and then the $1 million we just mentioned.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Just a quick question. Do you plan on paying employees if you retain one of their ideas? Because we do pay some designers and other contributors a lot of money to submit ideas and come up with show concepts. Do you plan on paying the employees?
We didn't plan on having an actual winning package just yet. This is something we could consider, but for now it's just presenting to the international headquarters and getting leadership opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's more about the opportunity to just bond with their colleagues and people like across the globe who they don't see every day.
So also looking at growing the culture, we're looking at the Las Vegas employee connectivity. So the Las Vegas employees are actually hired, as you know, by MGM, which is the hotel in Vegas, and we feel that there is a greater potential for them to be integrated within the Cirque du Soleil culture. So what our plan is like I said, unleveraged opportunities that could further inspire their collaboration, so feeling more part of the family of Cirque du Soleil. And so by doing this, we are suggesting to offer them to take part in the programs that Cirque du Soleil employees take part of, so like Odyssey, Stretch, and Panache. This will be able to share the Cirque du Soleil culture to these technicians, employees, and feel a stronger sense of belonging within the Cirque du Soleil family. And in addition, we would give them access to the sharing feed on Voxo, which I will just talk about now, which is oriented to connecting Montreal, Las Vegas, and the rest of the world. So what this idea is to deepen the family ties between the shows by implementing a new newsfeed sharing platform on Voxo, if I'm saying it correctly. So what this new platform will do is that it will be able to give a platform for artists, employees, technicians, any kind of staff to share stories, pictures, any memories of bonding events, practices, costumes, and this will be able to be accessed around the world. So someone in Shanghai will be able to post a picture that someone at a show in France would be able to witness and experience with them, which we believe that will bring a stronger sense of family and connection to bring to celebrating just the shows around the world. And this again is a way to just visualize the realities that employees either in an office experience or artists on the road. So next, just looking at how we want to do this all. So looking at the short term, just in the first year. So for the first 3 months, we want to select 2 headquarters employees to move abroad to start regional office. We believe that an employee who works at Cirque du Soleil will feel inspired to take the opportunity, this leadership opportunity, to move abroad and start something big for the company. Then within the next 3 months, they would search for local experts to be able to expand their team and send them to the international headquarters in Montreal for training. So this will allow them to gain this Cirque du Soleil culture through their training. And then the next 6 months, when they'll all be back at the regional office, they'll be able to start their creative day organization. So this will be traveling to the different shows, explaining the concept and why it's important for the company. And then the last 3 months of the first year would send representatives to the international headquarters to share these ideas to the employees in Montreal and implement and hire for the new show. And then looking at the more long term, we would like to suggest to change the Vegas office into the North American regional office, like we suggested to do in Europe, and then expand the Shanghai office, successful, to kind of repeat these first steps and make it the Asian regional office.
Thank you, Manon. So now that we've talked about the strategy, we really want to leave you with 3 key points to just commemorate the 2 things we've talked about. So first is to decentralize operations into regional offices across the world. So we mentioned 2 so far, the one in France, which we think is a key area that Cirque du Soleil currently operates largely in, and this would be a really great opportunity to have some staff there that can bring everyone together and tie in with the Montreal office. Secondly is to increase employee connectivity and integration with Creative Day, and that's what Nathan talked about. An opportunity for everyone to come together, bond on one day, and share ideas that maybe other people wouldn't have in different parts of the world. And thirdly is to leverage Cirque's existing and established intranet Voxo to strengthen the ties around the world. So as Manon mentioned, an area where people can share ideas, share memories, and to really cherish the small victories that make Cirque such an amazing company. Thank you for your time. We now like to open the floor to any questions.
En premier lieu, merci beaucoup. Et juste pour que vous sachiez, nous avons 2 employés en France.
Ah!
Oui, à l'équipe du casting, déjà présentement. Par contre, comment voyez-vous que lorsqu'il y a des petits endroits, là, vous parlez de louer des espaces de bureaux, d'y aller vraiment, en gros, comment tout le concept de travail à distance à la maison, que les gens puissent, est-ce que vous voyez que ça pourrait être quelque chose qui est envisageable?
On pense que c'est clairement quelque chose qui est envisageable. Cependant, je pense que c'est important d'avoir un bureau, quand même avoir un bureau fixé pour que les employés viennent travailler ensemble et qu'il y ait un peu plus un esprit un peu pour partager un peu la culture du Cirque du Soleil. Donc c'est quelque chose qui pourrait être implémenté dans ces régions-là, mais je pense qu'avoir un bureau fixe serait quelque chose de quand même très important.
Je serais curieuse de savoir, est-ce que vous avez analysé ou fait des recherches sur d'autres compagnies qui ont décentralisé certaines de leurs opérations, qui sont peut-être des compagnies à l'international comme le cirque et qui ont des bureaux ailleurs, et comment ça a pu contribuer à leur synergie ou à augmenter la profitabilité?
Mais je pourrais parler un peu sur ça. J'ai pas d'exemple concret, mais je sais qu'avec la compagnie, parce que j'ai travaillé il y a 2 étés, c'est une compagnie internationale avec un bureau en Allemagne. Puis chaque année, ils ont une journée où est-ce que tout le monde fait un événement ensemble. Puis je sais que c'est pas exactement ce que tu me demandes, mais juste pour dire que même avoir des bureaux partout dans le monde, avoir quelque chose en commun comme un bureau central, ça aide quand même à la culture de la compagnie. Puis je pense que ça aiderait beaucoup à avoir même un espace parce que le monde peut y aller, ou comme avoir quelqu'un de fixe dans un espace parce que toutes les questions peuvent être dirigées ou quoi que ce soit.
Je trouve votre suggestion intéressante. Juste une anecdote. Quand j'ai travaillé au Cirque du Soleil de 2000 à 2005, en 2000, tout était décentralisé. On avait un bureau en Asie, à Singapour, et un bureau en Europe aussi. Et une des tâches qu'on a fait, c'est qu'on a tout centralisé ça à Montréal. Donc j'ai l'habitude de dire que la centralisation-décentralisation, c'est un mouvement de balancier. C'est intéressant de vous entendre recommander la décentralisation.
On n'était pas au courant que c'était comme ça avant.
Vous savez l'histoire du balancier, c'est ça que
Ce ne serait pas la première fois que Cirque du Soleil change d'idée.
Non, mais le principe de la proximité des marchés est super intéressant. Je pense que vous avez bien saisi cet élément-là. Puis le défi de la communication, d'avoir de la présence sur place, ça aide un peu. Par contre, Vegas est quand même, il y a un bureau à Vegas, ils ont quand même des défis de communication aussi, puis ça c'est plus peut-être la culture qui est un peu différente.
Je pense aussi que le problème avec genre Vegas, et genre nous on a suggéré qu'il se transforme comme la regional office de l'Amérique du Nord, mais en même temps, il y a tellement de choses, ce qui se passe genre au Canada et aux États-Unis, que ça serait pas une mauvaise idée non plus d'ouvrir une regional office autre que Vegas. Comme Vegas, ils ont plein de permanent shows, donc ça serait peut-être aussi intéressant de regarder d'autres villes qui puissent devenir une regional office pour le continent de l'Amérique du Nord.
Merci beaucoup. Félicitations.
Merci. Merci.
Merci.
Bonne journée. Merci. On va aller jouer là, je pense. Dormir, s'il vous plaît.
Merci beaucoup. Vous l'avez reçu très tôt, hein?
Ouais, ben on a commencé à 4 heures.
Oh, wow.
Ouais.
Félicitations.
Félicitations. Merci.